Even when civil society organizations and different stakeholders kept on appealing to the president not to sign the cyber security and cyber crimes bill, we have seen the president signing it without looking at it. What do you make of this?
Thanks, Kelvin. Suffice to mention that the deed has been done. Indeed, he has signed it. Metaphorically, if he was not looking at it, he wouldn't have been able to append the signature on the correct page. I believe that was euphemism. He must have gone through it, and then indeed he has assented to it. Now, as we speak today, it is law. Suffice to mention that it has been signed with controversy. I think we'll be able to delve into the issues. Yeah.
You've said you signed it with controversy, and at one point I said it seems as if a cyber security and cyber bill has divided us, because there are those that are supporting the bill, that were supporting the bill, who are now supporting the law, and there are those who are against the bill and have continued to be against the law. Where is the controversy? Why is it that we've got people who are supporting it and people who are not in support of it?
Well, Kelvin, in simple terms, you see, a law is supposed to be clear, okay? And if it's clear, then it garners consensus. Now, the moment you have this split, like you have put it, it then follows that there's a certain level of ambiguity. And where you have ambiguity in law, then you create this environment that we have created. Suffice to mention that I think the opponents of the bill have really put up a brilliant campaign in terms of bringing out the issues that they feel that the bill will affect the rest of the citizens. And also we have seen the propensity from those that are pro the bill in terms of pushing for it. And I think the sad reality in Zambia is that we seem to have this desire to create laws that target those people that hold a different opinion. And I think we can refer back time immemorial, looking at the Chiluba regime, the Mwanawasa regime, and now we are here talking about Bill 10. I mean, so the cyber security bill. It really looks like it's targeted at certain individuals, and therefore it becomes ambiguous, and then it doesn't generate the correct consensus that is required for everybody to tag along.
When I look at the objective of the bill, the objectives of the law now,
yeah.
A, you've got to ensure the provision of cybersecurity in the Republic. B, provide for the protection of persons against cyber crimes. C, provide for child online protection. D, facilitate identification, declaration, and protection of critical information and infrastructure. E, provide for the collection of the preservation of evidence of computer and network-related crimes. F, revise the admission in criminal matters of electronic evidence. G, provide for registration of cybersecurity services providers. And H, provide for matters connected with or incidental to the foregoing. Let's delve in on the B, provide for the protection of persons against cyber crimes. A lot of people have been victims of cyber crimes, crimes that are committed in the cyberspace. And this law now seeks to cure. Why is it that people still want to be protected when they are committing crimes using the cyberspace?
Kelvin, you must be alive to the fact that there are already laws that are in place. Okay, for example, ZICTA. ZICTA is operating under which law? So ZICTA is responsible for helping the nation, for example, manage these cyber crimes. And if you are talking about the cyber law being created to stop the dissemination of pornographic or cyber bullying, as it has been put there, I think you and me are alive to the fact that there are people in this country that have been convicted as a consequence of circulating obscene materials, and they've been taken to court and prosecuted successfully and sentenced or fined or whatever it is that might have happened. But you see, there is more to that particular bill. For example, there is a section that I was reading, the one that gives the minister the powers to to preside over the certain offices that will have to be established to enforce this. And I think if you look at the people that are opposed to the bill, they've been able to itemize. You see, at where do you draw the line between, right now, as it stands, under the Constitution of Zambia and the different protocols that the country has assented to, there is a provision where if I engage in malicious dissemination of false information, I can actually be arrested and be prosecuted. Do we need a contentious law like this one? No. But look, I think this particular bill has been signed. Let us see. I feel that, and we feel that as young people, that the problem that we have in this country is operationalization of the various aspects of statutes that we have. Okay? We have in the Constitution, for example, if I'm not mistaken, in Part 73, chapter, I think Article 73 of the Constitution, which stipulates actually how somebody who is engaging in tribalism can be prosecuted. But you and me are alive to the fact that the media itself is awash, the Facebook is awash with a lot of videos with cabinet ministers engaging in tribalism, but nobody's invoking the law. So it is not going to do really to be piling up laws. We do appreciate that it's important to move with times. I think the technology space is evolving, and therefore the laws have to evolve accordingly. But then they have to be clear. They shouldn't raise controversy like it has happened. Now, as it is now, really, it is water under the bridge to sit here and lament about this particular bill, because it is the law. So we have now to wait and see exactly how it's going to be actualized.
Mr. Shembela, don't you think Zambians are just good at criticizing things that are coming from government? We did see on the Bill 10, even if in Bill 10 there were progressive clauses, but people just objected it entirely. And now we have the cyber law, which seeks to protect you, Jones, from people that intend to bully you. This law seeks to protect you as Jones when others are planning to defraud you in terms of committing crimes using the cyberspace. This law is there to protect your children who have become victim of pornographic materials that are being sent on the cyberspace. Don't you think Zambians are just good at criticizing things that are coming from government, even when those things are meant for good?
No, Kelvin. To the contrary, I think there is precedence, Kelvin. We cannot say the people are good at criticizing. When people are criticizing, you have to sit and look back exactly what is causing the despondence. Okay? Now, I have just given you an example here. I think you and me are aware that there is a famous colleague of ours who leaked a pornographic video of themselves. And that particular issue was taken, and they were taken to court, and they were convicted, and they paid the fines. Now, which law was being used? Hence, I said, we have progressive rules and regulations in this country. But what we have as a problem is the ability to be able to apply these rules and invoke them in a correct manner when they really matter. They are applied selectively. Now, we can't keep on bringing these rules. There are rules in this country that talk about cyberbullying already, aside from what has been assented to. And I think when you talk about the citizens criticizing, it is really to do with the precedence. You know, the issue of Bill 10 that you're talking about, you can't go and get a drink and then poison it a little bit and then just say, look, I've just put in a little poison here, but just take it, you're going to be fine. No. There is something, people are referring to history, and they're able to see that, look, if we go through this route, most likely what is likely to come out is ABCD. And after all, it is good citizenry to be awake and be able to provide checks and balances to the government. You're not just supposed to take everything that the government is telling you to do or what the government is proposing to do, because the people are the government, isn't it? Mm-hmm. So the laws are meant to govern the people themselves, and they've got to be clear about that particular statute that you are coming up with. So the question is, as a leader, as a government, you ought to listen, and listen a lot, okay, instead of antagonizing where you have, for example, butane, or now this where half of the country is, or the 3/4 of the country is not happy with it. You understand? So it is not just criticizing for the sake of criticizing. I think people have got a right to check, question, and then receive feedback, and of course, you move on in a better direction.
When the president was signing the cyber security bill into law, he said there is something good that he saw, which will put a stop to those people who think they have the freedom to abuse others using the cyberspace. He says now those that have been, that have had this feeling to say we are more Zambians and we can do whatever we want to do using the cyberspace and we'll go scot-free, this time around they'll meet the wrath of the law. You keep on referring to other, to other incidences that have happened. But with this one, the president was very much clear to say there are other Zambians who think they are more Zambians by going on the cyberspace, be it Facebook or WhatsApp, and start abusing others. This time around, they won't have it easy.
Kelvin, the president is entitled to his opinion, and we have to respect that particular opinion. But I still come back to my point where I said we have laws in this country already, very good laws, that are supposed to, actually meant to protect all of us in whichever sphere and sector of.
What has been the problem with the laws that we have?
It is the operationalization. I've just given an example to say, if you go in the Constitution, there is an article there that prohibits tribalism. The president sits next to a minister who is captured on video uttering tribal remarks. There is even no censuring. What gives you the feeling that this particular bill is going to be implemented? Have you seen the insults, Kelvin, that are being parroted by the cadres on Facebook? If you look at when there was a by-election in Luanshya, there's a clip, a video, where those people spent 10 minutes insulting Chishimba Kambwili and his mother and his father and everybody else. Have you ever heard that anybody has been called? No. So the problem is operationalization, the selective application of the law. When I commit the offense, I'm treated differently. When you commit an offense, you are treated differently. You see, Honorable Sichalo, I don't know really if he's honorable, he circulated a pornographic material on a WhatsApp group. Have you ever heard him being summoned? But Iris Kaingu circulated a pornographic video. She was taken to court, convicted and fined. You see, that is where the problem is. So it is not about this particular bill, okay? Today there is a video there is an audio that is circulating about somebody from Kalulushi who's been insulting the hell out of somebody. What, have you heard the police issue a statement against that person? Nothing, because they belong to a particular sector of people. So we can bring as many laws as possible, but if we don't have the ability to implement them, then we're wasting our time and we're wasting people's time. And probably this is what is causing the citizens not to be happy and to start questioning some of these things.
Others have argued and they have lamented that there was lack of sensitization in terms of the bill itself. And up to now, others don't really understand or know that it is now law. Yeah. Again, I'll give an example of what happened with butane. Citizens complained that we don't know much about this. Yeah. Members of parliament are busy debating without asking us. What do you make of our parliamentarians? In whose interest do they pass these laws?
Well, ordinarily, they are supposed to pass the laws in the interest of the citizens that they serve when they go to parliament.
And should they be consulting the citizens every time they want to pass a law?
That is a requirement, because the law is meant for who? Is meant for the citizens that it is being created for. So if you look at the time that butane collapsed and the time that the cybersecurity bill has been introduced, if you go into the villages in Kanakantapa there and ask them, do you know what a cybersecurity bill is? Are they going to explain to you? They don't understand it. Again, so it comes down to the way you are governing the people. You know, the way you administer the affairs of the state. These are issues that affect people's lives in terms of expression of interest. That particular law has got a clause which says, if there is a message that has been issued out which tends to disturb your emotions, then you are going to be arrested. Now, honestly speaking, Kelvin, where have you stayed and have a proper debate and a proper conversation as citizens without invoking each other's emotions based on the words that you are using? We're not saying people should go out and start insulting, and I think all of us here are calling for good citizenry. So it is important that everybody else becomes responsible over what they say and do, okay? And they should be held accountable. But in the process of governance, I think consensus leads or breeds progress, if you wish. So you have to strive to have consensus by disseminating information as much as you can. This particular bill has been implemented within, I think, a space period of 60 days.
Is there anything wrong with that?
Of course there is. I mean, who governs like that? What is the rush? I did refer you to the fact that in this country, we have the propensity to create laws that are targeted at individuals. President Chiluba created a law that targeted Dr. Kenneth Kaunda, leading to the UNIP boycotting the 1996 elections. Okay, the MMD were creating a law under the National Conference, the one that was generating the constitution, targeting at who? At Microsoft. And now we have this particular law, which is seemingly targeting other people. But that is not the basis on which you're supposed to create a law, because you don't live in perpetuity. Tomorrow you are going to be out of there, and the same law will be required to be applied on you. It's not very good. So in a proper democracy, you have to try to reach consensus. Of course, you're not going to have 100% consensus, but it's important that you have information dissemination. The bill, the information bill, that has been dragged on from the MMD government up to date. For the past 10 years, it has not been implemented. But that is a very good bill that in its effect will actually help the government to be able to govern properly, because it will give them correct checks and balances. You know, you don't want to live like a chief who doesn't want to be checked. Even when you stand naked in front of your citizens, everybody else is just going to be there pretending, looking at you. When you're actually naked, you know, the emperor wears no clothes.
Mr. Mulunga, someone will argue with you, because we've heard members of parliament, when debating these issues, they say, my people. They say Zambians, meaning that they refer to some of us. They refer to us. We are Zambians. They will say Zambians have been bullied. Zambians have fallen victims of cyber crimes. And Zambians want a law. When you say consensus, already we've given the mandate to our members of parliament. Now they are using us, saying, my people, the people that voted for me.
No, Kelvin, being in parliament or being in the council or being a president or a minister is not an end in itself. You are exercising that representation on behalf of the people. So you are not going to just sit at Parliament building there and start dreaming about laws because you are a member of Parliament who's been elected by the people. No, the people tell you what to do and not to do. Then you go there and actualize it, because everybody else can't come to Parliament. So it is a fallacy, actually. It is a wrong type of conversation to say no, because the people have already elected me to be a councillor, and I sit in the council. Therefore, I decide to come up with whatever my mind imagines. That's wrong. You rule on behalf of the people, so you have to keep going back to the people. You have to keep asking them, as a president, as a minister, as a member of parliament, as a councillor, what do you want? Is this nice or not? So you cannot just decide, if you're the Minister of Infrastructure, to say, okay, because I'm the minister now, you people elected me and the president appointed me, I'm going to put a road here. No, you have to go there and ask the people, where do you think the road should pass?
With
That's
the
how it
current
works.
with the current crop of members of parliament that are still there from 2016 up to now 2021, I know that parliament will be adjourning in May. Do you think citizens have gotten what they were supposed to get from their representatives in terms of passing laws and representation?
Relatively speaking, I'll tell you no, because you see the interests have changed. The interests changed. You know, the majority of the people in parliament there, it became about self-aggrandizement, you know, self-gratification, and really towing the desires of whichever leader is supporting them. You know, people in parliament, if you look at the debate there, really, it feels very sad, because you would wonder, like, somebody who has a PhD can debate in the way that they are debating, simply because the political party that they are coming from has taken a particular sort of direction. And I think the citizens really have been shortchanged on that account. I'll tell you one progressive bill that was introduced in parliament. It was introduced by Sebastian Copeland. It had to do with the provision of free sanitary pads to our youngsters in schools. Now, we had the vice president, a woman, shooting that particular bill. And then, a few months later, the same people are going to donate those free sanitary pads. Why not make it into a government law? Okay, simply because a particular leader did not want to do what? Did not want that particular bill. Now, it's like you lose your conscience and then you are just there to parrot this agenda that your leader is telling you. And I think as a nation, we need to look at these mechanisms on, you know, how a particular MP, maybe a councillor or whoever who doesn't serve the interest of the people should be petitioned and recalled, so that you replace them with a correct thinking person.
Now, you are representing an organization, or a civil society organization, that is championing young people venturing into leadership.
Yeah.
With the crop of you know, members of parliament, what sort of plans or programs do you have? Because even young people have been a disappointment. Those that are in parliament today, I'll tell you that even those youths that we can talk about who are in parliament have been voting based on party lines, because my leader, the leader of this political party, wants this agenda, then they support that agenda, forgetting the people that send them to parliament. Even those that are in government, because government has made a stance to say, this is our stance. We see even young people who are supposed to be groomed by Saila, instead of them representing the aspirations of the people, they begin to champion the aspiration of the party and their leaders. Where are we missing it, and what sort of change is Saila proposing?
Look, one of the issues that we have observed, Kelvin, is that there is a structural problem in this country. And the structural problem is then perpetuated by the abilities that our leaders exhibit. Now, as a Center for Young Leaders, we have actually noted that this, you know, you are referring to the 3 young people in parliament. There are 3, by the way.
Yes.
Already, and that's why I'm using the word structural. Now, in a country that is 63% youth, it's really a sad state of affairs to have only 3 people that are below the age of 35. What happened? Where you have a constitution that mandates the president to appoint people equitably, okay, in terms of women, youth, and persons with disabilities. So what we have seen as young people is that the structure itself is engineered in such a way that it segregates, it systematically, you know, like sieves out young people based on all these other criteria that are put in place. So as a center, for example, we are trying to conscientize young people and advocate for an electoral system change, which we are calling the mixed member electoral system. And in that particular system, We are hoping the young people can support this and see the sense in it. We are proposing to have proportion and quota systems of getting young people into these political parties. And from that perspective, of course, not targeting this particular parliament. I think when the issue was brought out, and that's why I talked about the poisoning of the drink, in the Bill 10 that collapsed, there was a sentence there that talked about creating a mixed member proportional representation. But then when you have a conversation with the members of parliament and ask them if they really understand what is this mixed member proportional representation system is, they didn't understand. So we have gone on a quest to actually, we have undertaken a study, we've produced a position paper where we are proposing, and we are engaging these political leaders and other community leaders to get out the understanding of the importance of changing the electoral system that we are using, because we feel somehow, apart from the cultural barriers, there is a structural barrier that is created by the laws that have been put in place, where political parties pick people based on their ability to contribute money into a campaign. So a brilliant young man who's able to offer the nation good and innovative ideas is thrown out because they have zero balance on their bank account. So we feel that if we can change the structure system of the law, the electoral law, to compel political parties to pick and provide resources to young people that they themselves identify to be able to understand and propagate their ideologies in terms of national development, they should be able to adopt those young people, and then they come through the election system. Maybe then we can change the way the discourse is going. Again, I'll give you an example. In Parliament, I think there's an MP there who introduced the reintroduction of a bursary scheme for students in public institutions. That particular bill was shot down because there is no young person in there. A person who themselves benefited from the free education in 1972, they see no reason why now it should be given to
Don't you think if it was reintroduced, then they wouldn't have a message to campaign
well, that's unfortunate.
For students?
That's really unfortunate, where you have to deprive people and then use that deprivation as a means to get yourself into power. It is really the reality that we are talking about as young people, to say, look, this is not what we want. I think we should have leaders that really care to say, look, what is going to happen to this country in the next 50, 100 years and things like that.
Let's move on to the issue of the economy. Our kwacha seems to be stable now on 21, 22. And even if others are complaining that the economy is not doing fine, the president, when he was commissioning the Monali flyover bridge, he mentioned that clearly when you look at our roads, you agree that the economy is fine and Zambians are living well because there's traffic there. Help us as a financial man or as an economist, the relation or the coordination between the issue of people driving, because we know for you to drive a car, first of all, you need fuel. Your car needs to be roadworthy, and there's a lot that is needed. Yeah. So if the economy is not ticking, surely people should have parked their cars.
I disagree, Kelvin, with the president. I think as an economist, you can't use the number of vehicles on the road as a proxy to determine the level of development in a country. Now, it's very hard to really understand the economic mind application that the president was using to come up with that analysis. Okay, so Great East Road has been a 2-lane road for the past 30 years. Okay, but the population has doubled, isn't it?
Yes.
So nominally, you discover that a lot more people have gotten jobs as a consequence of the population expanding, isn't it? And then they've bought vehicles. But you are still having 2 lanes. So you're going to have traffic. Okay? So, it's, I don't know how I can describe it, but I think I stand, with due respect, that kind of analysis is not good.
But when you say that kind of analysis is not good, I know, Mr. Mulunga, if people are not working, if people are jobless, if people don't have an income,
Yeah.
they can't buy a car.
Of course.
The fact that people are driving, clearly, my grandmother, my cousin, would definitely agree and say, probably, the economy is well. The economy is okay because people are buying cars, people are driving, and they're servicing their cars. If they don't have money, they couldn't have been driving.
No, Kelvin. But you see, there is a measure that we can use to measure if the economy is growing. And one of those measures is what is called GDP, where you aggregate the economic activities in a country in a given period of time and see what it is, what is happening. Okay, there are certain indicators that would show you that the economy is performing. Now, currently, the economy is growing at a patch less than 1.5% in nominal terms. When you deflate that GDP in real terms, you realize actually that there's no economic growth that is happening. So what is happening is just the nominal growth that you are getting. You know, the hype that is being created by the population increasing, and of course buying vehicles and all that. But in real terms, Kelvin, the economy is not growing. This year the economy is shrinking by negative 4.5%. That is not my statistic. That is the statistic from the government itself. Okay? As we stand today, inflation is at 22.8%. Correct me if I'm not correct. Okay, if I'm wrong. And then the kwacha itself has devalued. Its value has been going down from 7 kwacha to 22 kwacha as is today. So really, you can't say this is an economy that is growing. No. What actually has happened is, you know, there is more abject poverty today as compared to what we had in 2010, because in kwacha terms, your cost of buying a bag of millimil has gone up by 22.8% as compared to 2010. But the population is growing. You can see a lot of people moving up and down and carrying sacks of bags. That doesn't show you that the economy is growing. So if the economy was growing, the president was not going to be undertaking what he's terming an economic recovery plan. What do you only recover from an adverse situation, isn't it? So if you, Mr. Kelvin, you are okay, your pocket is fine, what are you going to recover from? Currently, there's an economic recovery plan. As it is, the country has failed to pay 3 bullet payments, three loan payments that are supposed to be paid to our creditors in November, in January, and in March. So if our economy was doing well, the reserve account at the Bank of Zambia should have had money. The president, through his Minister of Finance, should have been issuing instructions to have those loans serviced.
Mr. Mulunga, we've been told that we've not just failed. We are told by the minister this is a strategy. Of us defaulting is a strategy.
Look,
but it doesn't mean that we failed. It's just a strategy. But we have the capacity and we're going to pay. That is what we are being told.
Yes, Kelvin, but you see, even a depression, you need a strategy. Even in a depression, you need a strategy, Mr. Kelvin. So the fact that you are going back to re-strategize means what? It means your current reality does not allow you to do and achieve that which you want to do. That's why you have to go back. Okay, the minister is on record that, Kelvin, look, this country, as it is today, it is the first country in Africa to default on its external debt. That is not the characteristic of a country whose economy is expanding and achieving the desired growth. So, The fact that we are in that situation does not mean that the government should raise their hands up and say, no, we are not, we have failed, you know, we are defaulting, we are the first country. They have to do something. And as a country, we have to do something. And hence, we are renegotiating everything, having these meetings, International Monetary Fund, the other private creditors, and all that is going on. I'm sure you are alive to that fact. So that shows us that our house is not in order. Everybody knows that as a country we are defaulting. And if you, out of your current income, you are unable to service your loan at the bank.
You've talked about indicators, and the indicators that you've given seem not to be, you know, good. What is it that I know that there is an economic recovery plan, and you've talked about it.
Yeah.
Now, the fact that we've continued to see more cars on our roads, will we say then that the recovery plan is working and these are some of the fruits, and we are yet to see more?
Kelvin, the example of the more cars on the road, it's a very bad example.
But this is an example that has been given by leaders.
That is
people that have told us that they are committed to revamping our economy, that they are doing something, they're not just seated idle, and they're giving this example. You are saying that example
anybody who has ever sat in an economic class, introduction to economics, will tell you that that example does not hold water. It's a very bad example. You see, when you go to Chongwe, are you going to find more vehicles there? I've just explained to say the population in Lusaka has expanded. Therefore, it follows that there will be people that will buy cars. But in relative terms, you are not going to have economic growth. The population has just grown. The population has just grown, and then people have bought cars and all those things. And it is just in Lusaka, Kelvin. If you went to Chifunabuli, are you going to find the cars in the road where there is congestion? You see, Lusaka has suffered. You know, there hasn't been a properly sustained road expansion mechanism. Okay, and hence the little roads that have remained, all the little offices are going to where? To Cairo Road. Okay? And everybody wants to go to Cairo Road, and you have this artificial congestion. If we had a proper road construction mechanism that you expand properly as things go, we're not going to even have the so-called congestion in Lusaka that you're talking about. Okay? So it is just, you know, I don't know how that example was even used.
Well, we've seen others using examples of shopping malls.
As what?
Of our economy doing fine, that there are shopping malls and Zambians are able to enter a shopping mall or a hypermarket or supermarket and do their shopping. A thing that was not, known to
You see, again, Kelvin, again, you see, like, this whole conversation has to be brought into context. In the context of national development and economic growth, a mall does not signify economic growth. Actually, what a mall signifies is that in that mall, when you build it, where are you getting the materials to build the mall? It's only the cement that is coming from Zambia. Everything else is coming from outside. Who are the people that are coming to occupy those shops at the malls? Who is providing the clothes that are being stocked in the boutiques in those malls? They are coming from South Africa and China and Malaysia and everywhere else. In real terms, actually, if we build a lot of malls here, we are building the economy of South Africa and the economy of Zambia as compared to our economy here. So nominally, on face value, you'd think that we are growing because we have malls. But the real economic benefit arising from that mall is accruing to South Africa. That are exercising a beggar thy neighbor policy. Because you can't have a mall without what? A complementary good, which is the fabric. So we should talk about malls contributing to national development when Mulungushi Textiles is going to be spinning cotton that is going to be used by a company in Luansha to create jackets. Then we know that the economy is expanding and it's growing. So in nominal terms, yes, you would say like, oh, you know, I've got so much, I've got so many more, you know, I've got 10,000 kwacha. But in real terms, when you get that 10,000 kwacha, you're only going to buy 3 items and the 10,000 kwacha is finished.
Mr. Mulunga, do we have economics, people that have done economic in this country who are able to explain these things to the Zambian people? Because if you ask me, the example of shopping malls, the example of cars on our roads, the example of roads being tarred, for me that is development. And for me, that is evidence enough to conclude and say, indeed, our economy is doing fine. When you go to Soweto, you see people doing their businesses, buying and selling. You say, yes, indeed, our economy is doing fine. Where are the people with the brains that can be able to explain these things in simple terms, to explain to us and tell us, say, when you see cars on the road, when you see tires or roads being tarred, when you see these, when you see shopping malls, it doesn't mean your economy is doing fine. Where are these people?
The people are there, Kelvin.
What are they doing? Because for us, the information that we are getting, we hear, we see the president telling us, then we agree with him to say, indeed, if indeed our economy was not doing fine, if indeed people are jobless, people wouldn't be driving cars.
Yeah. So, Kelvin, the people are there. We have qualified economists in this country. This country has produced development experts that have worked all over the world. Just yesterday, I think, or the other day, we were putting to rest Honorable Dr. Roland Msiska, the former secretary to the cabinet. May he so rest in peace. Those are products of Zambia that saved the UN at the highest level. Now, what we need to have is we need to have intelligent conversations and remove this politics. The kind of wish-washy politics that we are playing in this country, unfortunately, from the highest level up to the least person, is very detrimental to our national development. When you are talking about the cars that are being driven on the road, what quality of cars are these, Kelvin, to start with? These are cars that have been discharged off the road in Japan because they can't drive. They've expired in Japan. And then they have nowhere to throw them. Then they put them in a shipyard and then they say $200. If you go to the internet today, you're going to find a car for $1,000. In real terms, outside there, a car that is worth $1,000 is scrap metal. They don't have anywhere to throw it. Those are the things that have flooded us here. Again, I return to the issue of nominal, face value. You understand? When we are talking about economic development and growth, we have to translate the health. You, when you go to the hospital, are you going to be given the medication or you're going to be given a prescription? The moment you are given the medication, then you know that we are improving. The quality of education, if you go to Kanakantapa today or you go to Kamilambo in Mumbo, you are going to find one teacher handling 89 children because of lack of what? Lack of schools. The moment we reduce our teacher to pupil ratio, where one teacher handles 25 children because there are a lot of schools, then we know we are developing. When we talk about the roads, you see, these roads, what is the quality of these roads? And they are being built at what expense? They are being built at $1 million per 1 kilometer. I would challenge you, Kelvin, go to Botswana. Find a road that is costing $1 million per kilometer. Compare it to these humps that we have here. And then you see, you are coming to build these roads. These are very cheap roads. You get very expensive money from the money market. You borrow at high interest rates. You bring in these Chinese that are doing Hong Kong kind of construction of the roads. A road 6 months down the line is developing a pothole in the center of the road. It has got no economic contribution. At the end of the day, you end up borrowing more money to come and repair the road after 6 months. That is not development. That is lying to yourself.
Those that are in government have, put a challenge to people like you and those that are in the opposition, say, learn to tell the Zambians the truth. Because you're lying to the Zambian people. Tell them where government is scoring in terms of the roads. We didn't have, is it 6 lanes at Greatest Road? Now we have that. Tell people the truth. We didn't have these shopping malls. Tell people what government is doing. We didn't have these hospitals and clinics being built all over the country. Tell people the truth. That government is working here and there. They are taking health services closer to the people. We have seen a number of clinics and hospitals being built. Be able to tell the Zambian people the truth where government is scoring.
We're not, Kelvin, we're not refusing that. I'll tell you for a fact that I have seen marginal infrastructure development, okay, in terms of health. I'm privileged to sit in a particular body where the DEBS comes to report to that particular body. Okay, in my district, for the past 5 years, there hasn't been a newly constructed government school or primary school. This is why I'm saying everything is being politicized. The conversations are being politicized. We are not saying the government is not working. No, the government is working, but there is marginal development that is happening. Marginal meaning very minimal. You see, if you talk about the 6 lane, it's a good thing, yes. But what is the economical value? If we sat here, Kelvin, and then we agreed to say we should come and sit here after next year, we calculate the economic value of this 6 lane from Munali there to the flyover bridge at Cabo Bridge. What will be the economic value that road would have contributed to the nation? Zero. Again, you see, it comes down to the way you prioritize as a nation. You leave the Lundazi, Chadiza, Chipata road. The groundnuts that is coming to Lusaka is coming from where? From Chadiza. That is real development. So if you say you are putting up massive infrastructure, you tell me, how many roads have been constructed in Central Province? You tell me, how many roads have been constructed in Northwestern Province? Northwestern Province is the one that is hosting First Quantum Minerals. And First Quantum Minerals is contributing close to 50% of the total tax that the government is recovering. But if you look at the road that goes from Mutanda to Solwezi, to Mulunga, where there is Kasenseli gold mine, you'll be shocked. So, let's put these things in context. Yes, in Lusaka there's been a 6 lane. We appreciate that. But then when you are prioritizing as a developing nation, what would you do? Would you choose to make a 6 lane in Lusaka for people that are going from one mall to the next mall and they are buying things whose money is being shipped outside? Or you are going to work on the Kasempa Mumbwa road that reduces the people that are bringing maize from Kasempa to Lusaka to the market, real production? Or people that are selling commodities from Lusaka to take to Kasumbalesa so that they can bring in dollars. So you see, again, we're not refusing that there is no development. The development that is there is really minimal. It is skewed. We appreciate that the people in Chilenje, in Chainda, where I come from, we have tarmac. But what are we contributing to the GDP? Chainda Road, what is it contributing to the GDP of this country as compared to the Great North Road that is in a deplorable state? So you see, so when we are talking about these things, I think we should be able to separate the politics out of the real things.
Now that you've talked about these issues have been politicized, what will it take for us Zambians to have a meaningful discussion and agree to say, here we are not doing fine, we can do A, B, C, D in order for us to grow our economy? Yes, you've done this, but you can do more. When and what does it take for us to have that meaningful development, meaningful discussion, and not to politicize issues? And in the end, Zambians will continue to suffer. But if we can have a meaningful discourse, we know that the people that are going to benefit are Zambians. What will it take?
You see, when the citizens of this great nation called Zambia realize that in the equation of national development, leadership is very, very critical. What we lack in this country is dedicated leadership. Okay? You have, we have a scenario in this country where a minister is sitting with a file of retirees whose pension contributions were already deducted and remitted to the pensions authority. And they are stuck in the sun, in the rain, and they are getting soaked. And they are praying to their God to say, please pay us our money. Telling those people to say, look, there is no money, the government has got no money. Later on, lying that the money has been disbursed. And then 8 months down the line, that money is not there. Then that minister moves and goes and donates 600,000 kwacha. What does that tell you? We have a leadership crisis. And you know, the moment the young people, the moment the citizens of this country realize that the power lies in the people, to be able to recall these people, give them red cards, don't re-elect them, flush them out. Until that is realized, we are going to be going in circles. So for me, really, it is going to take an enlightened citizen. And I think we need to educate each other to say, look, here, we have everything in Zambia, Kelvin. We have everything. Zambia qualifies to be called paradise. The only thing that we don't have in this country is ice. Ice. We have everything, but we are lacking leadership.
As we are winding down, Mr. Mulunga, President Edgar Lungu last week met with some diplomats, and he assured them that this year's elections are going to be free, fair, and credible. And also, we have seen the adoption process has started. And we've seen people crying foul at a political level that the selection process, the interviews were not free and fair.
Yeah.
If we can fail at a political party level, what is it that is going on in these political parties?
You see, it is an indicator of the leadership situation in a country. So in a country where you have good leaders, you see that good governance and good leadership acumen translates to the rest of the structures. The issues that you have in political parties, people crying foul, you know, the interview deal, writing appeal letters and all those things, that is just reminiscent of a system that is endemic to corruption. Okay? I applaud the message that the president shared with the diplomats to say these elections are going to be free and fair. But you see, we got to walk the talk. Okay? Already, as it is now, the Electoral Commission of Zambia has just created a new register. And those our colleagues there are arguing that we don't need an audit. It is okay as it is.
Because
it is a
new one.
No. Okay? That's where we're missing it. When you have something new, you need somebody that is professional enough to come and tell you, you know what, I think your new car is good. Even when you go to buy a car, a new car, a brand new car that has never been driven from the showroom, you are given a certification, isn't it? To say this is a new car. So it is these issues, whilst the president is pronouncing himself to good intention, the electoral mother body is refusing to conduct an audit. Even where private CSOs come to say, look, we are going to provide our own money, can you allow us to audit this process? They go and come up with laws that are saying it's criminal to audit this particular. Now, we all want elections to be free and fair. And I think all of us are calling for free and fair elections. And I think we are calling on all the leaders from the opposition and from the ruling, the government and everyone else who's concerned to really make sure that we have a good election. But we need to leave these words that we are speaking. If we are saying there is COVID in this country, you know, everybody else should do what? Should obey the rules. No one should be above the law. If we are going to have free and fair elections, there should be equal coverage by, for example, the public institution or public media to all the people so that the people can gauge. We don't want a situation of 2016 where a public media is covering the ruling party 98%, and then 2% is shared between 69 other political parties. What is that? And then at the end of the day, you call yourself having run a free and fair election. So that particular call from the president is very good and it's welcome, but I think we want the president to go further to make sure that the political thuggery that is going on, where you can't put on a political party regalia that you want and pass in town and advertise, they'll cut off your throat. That is not, so the election itself is not that the end result is the election. No, the election is the pre-process that we are in now. What happens on the actual day itself, 2016, the ECZ accrediting people that are belonging to a particular party to sit in Mulungushi, and then you are flashing them out in the name of whatever it is that they were doing. Those things are not required. And I think the ECZ needs to pronounce itself very clearly on these things. You know, elections are part of the system in creating good governance, which leads to correct national development. So if your elections are somehow messed up, you know, ultimately you end up getting, you know, leaders that are below average because the whole system is rigged. Jones
Mulunga Shembela, thank you so much for making an appearance on the assignment. We have to go.
Thank you very much for having me, and I hope we can have a conversation regarding the elections, just the ECZ and the elections, and the things that we really feel should be...
We'll create time for that.
Thanks very much.
Thank you so much. I've been chatting with Jones Mulunga Shembela, who is the Executive Director for the Center for Young Leaders in Africa, SILA. Many thanks to Mavuto Puri, the Director and Producer of the program. My name is Kelvin Tabola, Chief Focal. Good night.